Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I'm your host Hajra Satti and joining me is my wonderful co-host Fahim Bangesh. Assalamu alaikum Fahim. How are you doing today?
Walaikum assalam. Very well, Hajra. And as a matter of fact, quite excited because yesterday I was in a little symposium which was on mental health. And like I told you, I deeply and dearly enjoy such gatherings, such the company of psychiatrists, psychologists, because that's really close to my heart. And whether we agree to it or we don't agree to it, all of us have one time or the other gone through one type of mental illness.
That's very true, and since you alluded to the mental illnesses and mental conditions, so I would like to evoke the fact is that the situation or the pictures that are coming from the Gaza are very distressing, they are very heart-wrenching. I can't even imagine watching them with such temerity, but I don't know how people are going through there and how they're keeping up with the spirits there. And I think this is where when you witness the worst of the conditions, you can sometimes witness the best of humanity that is emanating from the Gaza. So without any further ado, we would like to move on to our top stories, where Army Chief General Syed Asim Munir has met the Ambassador of Palestine to Pakistan, Ahmad Jawad, at the General Headquarters in Rawalpindi. The Army Chief expressed condolences on the loss of Palestinian lives in the ongoing war in Gaza and expressed grave concerns over unabated violence and willful, indiscriminate killing of innocent civilians by Israeli Defense Forces in the war. The Army Chief also said the incessant attacks on civilian populations, schools, universities, aid workers, hospitals, and the forced exodus of Palestinians from Gaza are manifest crimes against humanity. And we should not forget what Israel is doing right now is inflicting the collective punishment on the innocent, defenseless people of Gaza. They do not deserve it, and it's a very small strip where 2.2 billion people are living. And we've also seen very heart-wrenching scenes where they have asked to evacuate people from south till the north, but we've seen that their convoys are being attacked.
Their convoys are being attacked, you're right, and UN installations are being attacked. We've seen that. And also, Hajra, we know how strong-nerved people doctors are.
True.
And I've seen doctors in my, the people I know, and I've seen them cringing over the images that are being seen on the internet, that are being shared on the internet. But one thing that is really good, Hajra, is that the images are being shared, the videos are being shared so that the world gets more and more sensitized towards the gravity of the situation, what is happening in Gaza. And also we have seen how protests are erupting in different parts of the world, be it pro-Israel governments or anti-Palestinian governments. We have seen people coming out for humanity. The people in general are pro-humanity. We've seen that. We've seen placards, we've seen banners, we've seen humanitarian organizations asking for help as far as Palestinians are concerned, because there are more women, more children and more teenagers than we had ever imagined, and they are being tortured, slaughtered and butchered.
That's very true, and obviously we are going to discuss the situation in Gaza in detail. Our entire segment is on there. But moving on, Pakistan women beat West Indies women by 8 runs in the first one-day match in Lahore. Batting first, Pakistani women team were bowled out for 174 runs in 49.3 overs. Gulfiroza remained top scorer with 62 runs, while Shawal Zulfikar scored 17 runs. And I think that's a sort of a very good development for West Indies women. Cherry and Fraser backed 3 wickets. In reply, West Indies women bowled out for 166 runs. And now let's move on to the situation in Gaza, because it has caught our attention, the attention of the entire world, because the imbroglio continues to develop and develop further. But before we talk on it and we engage our guests, we would like you to watch the visual representation that is made by our team. So please go ahead.
Relentlessly bombard the Gaza Strip, showing no signs of implementing a ceasefire in the besieged enclave. According to Hamas officials, more than 700 people were martyred and hundreds wounded in overnight Israeli raids on the territory. Israeli shelling targeted civilian homes in Khan Yunis, killing at least 23 people, including children. Rescue operations were still ongoing. The raids also hit a gas station near the city of Rafah. The report said violent raids continued throughout the night from the north to the south of raids, killing dozens and sending entire buildings to the ground. Palestinian news agency Wafa said in the early morning, Israel launched fresh bombs on Jabalia and Al-Qarara area in Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. Hamas released 2 Israeli women on health grounds, as sources said the United States had advised Israel to hold off on-ground assault in the Gaza Strip. Hamas spokesman Abu Ubaidah said, "We decided to release them for humanitarian and poor health grounds. They were freed following the release of an American woman and her daughter on Friday." A new convoy of 20 trucks carrying humanitarian aid reached the war-torn Gaza Strip from Egypt's Rafah border crossing. On Saturday and Sunday, 2 batches of humanitarian aid arrived in Gaza through the Rafah crossing. Earlier, United Nations World Food Programme spokesperson said the agency has more than 40 trucks waiting by the border between Egypt and Gaza, and we are prepared for any time that we are able to enter again. United Nations officials say about 100 trucks would be needed daily to meet essential needs in Gaza, which is home to 2.3 million people and where stocks of food, water, and fuel have been running low.
Was a report that you were witnessing on your television screens that our team has prepared on the Gaza Strip and on the brutalities and what has been going on in the Gaza Strip. And we have seen that humanitarian aid has started to reach the Gaza Strip. And but on the other hand, we do see continuous action from the Israeli side. And not to forget that a few days back, Hajra, we came to know that there is going to be a ground offensive, but now we know that that has been delayed due to certain reasons. And of course, if we talk about an alternative, that is peace, that is ceasefire. But according to the statement of Benjamin Netanyahu, as he passed it yesterday, that it's not going to end anytime soon, which is quite concerning and worrisome.
That's very true. And I think Benjamin Netanyahu is a very shameful leader, because within the Israel, there are voices coming on criticizing him, what sort of action he is taking, and collectively punishing the entire population is not the answer to this imbroglio. So without further monopolizing our conversation, we would like to introduce our guest, who also happens to be the former ambassador of Pakistan to Syria. He was the Vice Chief of Affairs Staff and he happens to be Air Marshal Saeed Muhammad Khan. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Hajra, for inviting me over to the program.
Right, sir, so you've served in Syria, and we've seen that Israel has twice attacked the airports in Damascus and Aleppo, but the Arab response to this entire situation is obviously there's a lot of condemnation coming from the Muslim Ummah, but we don't see substantial actions that can thwart the offensive of the Israeli forces. So what do you envision? Because as far as I remember, back when the US invaded the Iraq, so they invoked this principle of responsibility to protect, R2P principle. Don't you think that the Muslim Ummah or the OIC can come up with the same principle, responsibility to protect and save the people in Gaza?
You are very right, Hajra. This is what is the expectation of the common Arab and the Palestinian people in that region, that OIC and the Arab League should be more effective and they should be able to provide them not only humanitarian assistance but political assistance at the international forums like the United Nations. At this very moment, what I feel is that the Arabs and especially the neighboring countries to Israel are endeavoring not to escalate the conflict. While the aim of the Israeli government seems to be that they want to expand the conflict and bring in major powers. They seem to have been emboldened by the visits of the leaders of the permanent members of the Security Council. And they think that they can give a fatal blow to the Palestinian occupation or a Palestinian presence in the Gaza Peninsula. But I think this is going to be a long, protracted guerrilla war as it is happening. Like Fahim said, that the Israeli land offensive is getting delayed, and it is getting delayed because even Israel, I think, is afraid to go on the land offensive because in the land offensive there are going to be casualties, and they are casualty shy. And the lessons of the 2006 Hezbollah-Israel conflict must be still in their mind.
Yes.
So just to avoid casualties, they are not going into a land offensive, and the air offensive actually gives them that superiority in that region where they can kill and destroy targets with impunity.
Right, sir. So we've also seen, since you've served in the forces, we talked about that Israel has stalled the ground offensive, and New York Times have reported that President Biden has asked Israel to stall it till the release of the captives that have been taken by Hamas. And you also talked about that this is a very asymmetric warfare. So Hamas is a militant group. It's not a proper army in the sense that IDF or a proper army, right? So even if Israel does the ground offensive, do you think that there is an end game to it, or is it going to be a protracted conflict where the casualties will go on, and there's going to be no end in sight? So what's your opinion as someone who served in the army? Is it going to be a successful one or not?
Whether it is successful or not, the odds are in favor of Israel. Can I continue, please?
Sure. Go ahead. You're all ears.
Okay. The odds are always in favor of Israel because Israel is the only army in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is something like they have a strength of something like between 70 to 80,000 strong. But they have a lot of rockets. In the last 16, 17 years, they have built their arsenal to a level that even 2 days ago, the American Defense Secretary was telling us that they have something like more than 150 rockets. Now we have seen that when Hamas attacked on the 7th of October, they did it with rockets, and those rockets did substantial damage to the Israelis. So if we think that Israel will have a clean walkover, I don't think so that will happen. And if the land offensive starts, then I think there will be more pressure on Hezbollah and other, Arab forces in the region to join in. And then the war may expand. And so before Israel actually goes on the land offensive, they might be looking for some support from the big powers that they support them at international fora, in this. I think that the land offensive is not going to be there till the time Israel is sure of victory at minimal cost. And
Also,
at this moment, that assurance they do not have.
Also, Said Khan Sahab, we know that OIC is a platform where all the Muslim countries, they get together, they represent the whole Muslim Ummah, right? But there has been a meeting of the OIC, and yet we haven't really seen a proper role from the OIC. And also, we know that a Senate meeting has been called in Pakistan as well. Even the international media is quoting that. So how important is this Senate meeting going to be in Pakistan? Because this has happened after several failed attempts due to different controversies. Now they have called on that Senate meeting on Palestine. Could you highlight the importance of that too?
Every meeting in support of Palestine and the Palestinian cause has value. So therefore, I think we should not in any way undermine the importance of any effort that goes towards supporting the Palestinian cause. But it is an unfortunate reality also that OIC, Arab League, and the Muslim Ummah in general has failed to be united. And because we are not united, we have lost our relevance and our strength in the world. If we look at the supporters of Israel and we look at the supporters of Palestine, at one side we see a very united front and on the other side, a very disunited front. The leaders of the Islamic Ummah and of the Muslim countries really need to put their head together, because if today it is Palestine, tomorrow it will be Kashmir, and the third day it will be another Muslim country, and then other Muslim country, and we will be clobbered like this for times to come.
Right. So, Said Saab, we've seen when you talked about the united response and how the response is extremely divided, especially coming from the Western countries. So, Spanish foreign minister openly talked about that they do not want to support the Israel, and since it is in the European Union, so they also disagreed with the statements coming from the European Union's representatives there. We've seen also the Egypt is also taking the initiative where they called a summit for negotiations, and different countries have put together different solutions to end what is going on in the Gaza situation. But do you think that the Benjamin Netanyahu, who happens to be the Prime Minister of Israel and who's also, getting lots of criticism from within the community, from within the Israel, so what do you see the end side of this entire scenario, which is getting a big humanitarian catastrophe for the people of the Gaza?
Very rightly said, Hajra. But the point is that if Netanyahu wins this war, he'll be the hero after a week. So I think what is most important is that we should immediately stop the killing of innocent civilians in the Gaza Peninsula. And for that, the Muslims should use all international fora to, promote this point of view. You are right in saying that the Israel is getting a lot of flack, but they are getting the flack from private institutions. The governments are standing, the Western governments are standing rock solid behind Israel. America, France, England, they have all visited Israel and shown their local support to them. But how many Muslim leaders have gone and visited Palestine? Hardly any. So yes, we may be shouting, but our shouting makes no sense if we are not there to save the lives of the Muslims. So unfortunately, we have to learn this lesson in the world that if we want to be heard, we have to be strong. And we are strong, but we need strong responses to, murderous attempts by Israel that we have seen.
Right, Said Khanta, thank you very much for joining us and being with us and giving your take on this very important conflict that's going on around in the world and being discussed around the world. As I was telling you, Hajra, yesterday I went to this little conference, and Gaza was one point that was discussed again and again, because here we're talking about millions of people who are going to be turned into people with mental disorders.
That's true.
And there's no harm in saying that, because PTSD is something really real. And that is going to be affecting them for the rest of their lives. It's the governments who need to understand. It's the government representatives who need to understand the ceasefire is a must. But then again, according to reality, according to practicality, we can see, according to the statement of the Israeli Prime Minister as well, that this is perhaps going to be a protracted war, a protracted guerrilla warfare, perhaps in the coming months or years, maybe?
But we hope and pray that the sufferings comes to an end, because whenever war happens, I think innocents are the first ones who are taken down. So let's talk about, since it's the month of the October, and the October is known for the breast cancer awareness month, and we've seen that our state, especially the First Lady, she's very proactively taking up the cause of the breast cancer awareness. And Fahim, I'm really glad that we have such sort of conversations going on, because few years from now we've seen that whenever the sexuality of women was discussed, it was a huge taboo.
Huge taboo, very right.
Yes, and people do not want to discuss it, and because of that, we've seen that there was a proliferation of the breast cancer going on. But now I think the right conversations are being done. There are lots of campaigns and awareness, but obviously we need to do more and make sure that all of these talks are catapulted into the category of the action. So we're going on a short break. Don't go anywhere, because after you come back, we're going to talk about a very interesting topic that has captivated so many minds around this globe. So don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to This Morning with Hajra Sati and Fahim Mangush, and well, welcome to the second segment. In the second segment, we're going to be discussing something that has actually revolutionized the whole world. That has actually put the whole, is something really unprecedented, which has actually put the whole world under one consideration, under one thought. Is this going to take over us? Is this going to take over humanity? What is the future? And what I'm talking about is artificial intelligence. There are a lot of concerns going on around the world as to what is going to be the future, whether humanity is still going to exist, because since the last, I think, 4 billion years, ever since the planet Earth was formed, the solar system was formed, we've seen everything as being organic, right? And now we are watching, and perhaps in the near future, we're going to be having something inorganic running around us, walking around us in the form of perhaps robots. Obviously, we do see self-running cars, self-driven cars, but obviously that's still a futuristic concept that's still about to come, not really released in the market as yet. But quite a concerning thing artificial intelligence is. And
right. And obviously there are lots of benefits to it, but I mean, there are lots of concerns that are being voiced across the global platforms, that how artificial intelligence can endanger the concept of humanity. And earlier in this year, we've seen that the CEO of the ex-CEO of the Google and all of these other big personalities who are actually pioneers of the artificial intelligence, they withdrew, and they were very concerned about how the artificial intelligence is evolving, and they called for forming the collective rules of ethical norms to be formed, so that the artificial intelligence could be regulated. And we have seen the deep fakes, how the unregulated use of it can create a havoc around the world. So without further monopolizing our conversation, we are really glad that we have been joined by someone who is going to talk on this topic. So we are joined by Dr. Inamullah Khan. He happens to be a faculty member of the Zabist University in Islamabad. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Dr. Inamullah Khan. Now, Dr. Saab, talking about artificial intelligence. Now, when we talk about it, the first thing that comes to our mind, being in this part of the world, is ChatGPT, right? Which is something that's widely being used, especially in the universities, right? Being a faculty member, as you are, it's a known fact that people, the students in the universities, they also use it to perhaps write programs and write down their assignments or write down some essays. So what is I'm talking about a very little part of artificial intelligence right now, which is being used in Pakistan. I will come to the agriculture and other stuff later on. But what is the future of these children who don't really know how to use their own mind to do something, or to make their own assignments, or to perhaps use the mind like it has to be used in a university?
Okay. So if I start from as the humans are evolving day by day, and I will start from the data, because data for us is a new oil, I will say. And behind every new technology, if AI is using, so there is data involved over there. And with that sort of a data, people used to take decisions. So if for the sake of, as you are talking about ChatGPT, so ChatGPT, earlier there was a ChatGPT 3, right, ChatGPT 4, and then we are going towards ChatGPT 5, the newer versions are also coming. So these things are so much I will say intelligent, they can predict the near future. They are learning from humans, and also these sort of technologies are at the stage, I will say that in the near future they will say that, oh, that's up. Humans are not having that much knowledge, but they will say that let's start learning from the machines. So that will be a very much difficult thing for the humans if they will, like the machines will be trying to learn from the machine, because like they will be thinking that the human is not having that much sufficient knowledge to like deliver us. At the moment we are not at that stage. And if we talk about ChatGPT, so like I'm having some colleagues over there in University of Calabria, Italy, and I'm continuously collaborating with them. So I heard the news about over there in Italy that they have basically banned the ChatGPT because like it's not for a good cause, because like students are not using it for better practices.
True.
Because like the plagiarism and like lots of these practices are happening, and because of that they have banned this sort of a technology. But up to some extent, like some people can utilize it. But I will say that being living in Pakistan, like or earlier my life over there was in UK, so I will say that all of us are having like mobile gadgets and like so many like IoT devices we are having. So these sort of devices are collecting data. And I will say one of my example. I was in UK and I was having some friends over there in Morocco, and I was planning a trip over there because they told me to come over here and talk something about AI. So I was just I just typed something about on Google about like the air tickets to Morocco, from London to Morocco. And then I was like from a month or like that, I was just continuously like seeing some sort of like advertisements all around my, like if I'm watching a video, if I'm reading a article or like that, I'm continuously seeing some sort of advertisements.
True.
That
True.
what we are like at the moment, we are at the stage, like this is not that much at the level of consciousness. Because like at the moment, if I talk about myself, like
yes,
my interaction.
I do get the point, because your creative impulses are really bogged down if you use excessive artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, like Fahim talked about. So now let's talk about one important development that there's a lot of conversation going on, which is about the deep fakes and how it is threatening the democracies around the world. So previously we've seen that usually states were controlling the narratives through the print media, through the broadcast media, TV, radio, etc. And if I invoke the very famous concept of the Noam Chomsky, manufacturing the consent, but now we've seen the non-state actors have this ability through generating the deep fakes that they can control the narrative out there. And the deep fake is so much real that your human eye, naked human eye, cannot differentiate it unless it is an algorithm, right? So what sort of, how do you see this development going on? Do you think that artificial intelligence is threatening democracies around the world?
I will say that AI is not going to like, it will be a threat, but it might take over the entire world. Because if we are talking about the deep fakes, so the deep fakes is a technology like, and I will clarify this one thing, that in the near future, like governments will be bounded towards some sort of a big organization and big companies, because like these sort of a big companies will be having data and they will be controlling each and every person in the entire universe, I will say. Right. So if we are talking about deep fakes regarding like this sort of a technology, so it can be utilized in politics, it can be utilized to change the entire government of a person, because like if we are talking about deep fakes, so over there might be some sort of a opponent over there, and they can do what, like they can create a deep fake of that political figure. And what will happen, that it will make a big chaos in the people, in the public as well, because so it's a big threat to the people, it's a big threat to the politician, it's a big threat to the human life, I will say. But if we move towards like this sort of a technology, like let's say if we are having a kid, and as a parent, if we are going to like give them good deeds that try to do something good, so we can use technology for the sake of good as well. Like if I talk about my experience with these sort of a technology, so earlier in a like teenage, I was in fear of using these sort of a technologies, because like at the moment when I was kid in school, I was in fear because like there was drone attacks over there, because like we was in collaboration with the US, and like it was a big fear, like drones was coming and like they was killing people. So drones was not even like taking data, but at that time they was killing people in our country. So that was a big fear of mine. That was big fear of mine, how to interact with these machines. So I will say that these new technologies are coming, and it will be a big fear for the humans initially.
Talking about data and new technology, like you were mentioning, we're talking about a lot of data here. We're talking about so much data that a proper normal human mind cannot process, right? Now, when we talk about data, we talk about human rights as well. And according to this year's theme of the UN, it's about giving equal human rights to all. Now, don't you think, due to the use of artificial intelligence, human rights are being usurped as well? Because there are so many pictures and usage of social media so common all around the world, right? So that social media content can be used against our consent, which is a basic human right. So don't you think that is usurping a basic human right? And also the fact that AI has gained a lot of information and about the languages. A language which is perhaps the basic tool in using dissemination of information, be it human rights, religion, whatever, right? So they've taken over all the languages, they know all the languages, and now they're usurping human rights. So how would you highlight this?
If I talk about the religion, like you talked about the religion, so during the COVID phase, like we was just like dealing with these new technologies, but in the West there was one of the guy, he was because like people during COVID they cannot go properly to their church, religious places. So he developed a chat bot, and it was like a small robot sort of a thing, and that was giving you like if some person like a Christian can go to a church, and if he can like try to say something to the priest and like for forgiveness, and like he can use to say like this. So during COVID, people can't go over there to the proper churches or like that invest over there. So the phenomena occur over there that guy was having that robot, and he was selling that robot over there in the West, and it become too much popular over there. Because then after even during the COVID, like so many like from like churches, we have seen that there was protest going on because like this technology is going to take over the entire thing.
Right.
So it was a big fear to these priests as well. And if I talk about like the data, so data is a very serious factor over here. Like data can be regulated by a company, or it can be having something like that must be having some human intelligence over there. Because if we talk about like this sort of a technology, let's say if I give you an example, like if driverless cars, like Tesla has introduced a driverless cars, and it is having a problem, I will say it's a big problem, because like I was in UK, and like so many people was protesting over there because like so many people become jobless because of this technology as well, because like truck drivers especially.
It will generate new jobs, right? Because the nature of the jobs have changed, and I think it's a need of the hour that people adapt themselves to the newer skills. But when we talk about the artificial intelligence, obviously we've talked about how it threatens the humanity in terms of how it is endangering democracies around the world, and Fahim talked about that it's violating the basic human rights, which is the right of the privacy.
Yes. I'm going to come over this point, but the thing is like if I explain this example, like let's say we are having a self-driving car, and a passenger is sitting over there, and if it hit someone over there on a road, so what will happen? Is the company will be responsible? Is that driverless car will be responsible? Or if that kid will be responsible over there? So if we talk about these sort of a technology, so we must have to move towards a safe AI. Safe AI and responsible AI is going trending nowadays, and like so many big companies right now, they are investing a lot, because it's a biggest threat let's say if this sort of a technology comes to the like bad hands, so what will happen to the humanity, what will happen to this world? Because if we are talking about like generative AI tools and these sort of a thing, so what happened to a person? Let's say if Fahim is having an identity on a social media, and let's say being a professor in a university, I will say that if I'm having an identity, I'm having a very clear image towards my students, towards my society. So if someone comes over there and if he or she can make lots of my characters, and might be that character will be like Dr. Inamullah Khan might be like saying to someone that give me some money or like that. So these sort of a fake incidents are happening with me continuously, and even these sort of a fake videos people like hackers and like these sort of a people are making. So it's a biggest trouble and threat to the humanity. So that's why we must have to move towards a safe AI, and we must have to regulate some laws, because like new technology is coming day by day, and the third world countries and even the developed countries must have to have some specific laws for this. If we will be having not proper laws for this, so it will be a big trouble. Let's say, as I said, that the governments will hands up for this.
That's very true, and that is why I alluded to the fact that lots of people are calling for developing the ethical rules of engagement to engage the artificial intelligence. And there was a very interesting article, I think in the New York Post or maybe in Al Jazeera, which talked about that how artificial intelligence reeks of racism. And I do remember when the movie Barbie was coming out, so artificial intelligence generated different dolls of the different regions. So the dolls of the South Asian regions, they had a particular skin tone, they had a particular features, Caucasians had a different features, and it was accused of how the artificial intelligence is perpetuating racism. And I think this is very concerning thing, because artificial intelligence, the research and development is coming from the global north, and we the people of global south are left out from this development. So it's high time that we take the reins of it, and we have our voices included in that particular framework of ethical engagement.
And like you were mentioning, we have to have our voices heard, and we have to be included there. We have to go into more research. We have to be at par as far as knowledge is concerned, as far as research is concerned, as far as data is concerned. We have to be at par with the global north, as you very rightly mentioned. And although we are using artificial intelligence to our advantage as well, as far as agriculture is concerned, as far as some healthcare systems are concerned, yes, we are using some of these, but we need to do more, a lot more, in order to be at par. But sir, thank you very much for coming here today and sharing your views and your experiences as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. I'm sure everyone who's watching did learn a thing or two from our program today.
Yes.
And
Yes, and now it's time to wish a birthday to a little angel whose name is Arman Amir, and he is a son of a colleague here at PTV. So happy birthday, Arman. And
a very, very happy birthday, Arman, you little doll, and I hope you have many more.
Yes, and may you have many more, and may you become a productive human being who live a more contented life and able to contribute beautifully to the society.
Inshallah.
And make sure that you make your parents proud, because nowadays I think it's very important that we need to have good kids, right? So happy birthday to you, Arman, and may you have many more once again.
Birthdays are indeed a very, very joyous and happy and celebratory occasion. And this is something that we have been enjoying since our childhood, and we will continue to enjoy that even when we grow old. They say the inner child should always be alive, and you should keep it alive. That spark should stay inside you. Age is just a number. You should always enjoy life. I hope you enjoyed our program today.